Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning. Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right. I am John Palacio.
And I'm Marlene Cuellar. And thank you for joining us this morning.
Yes, overcast skies here in the city. Had some rains earlier, but nonetheless, it's a beautiful morning, Mar.
That's right. Drier than the ones we've been seeing. So
Yeah.
let's find out what we can expect for today.
Ooh, Francisca is on the line. Francisca.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How about you guys?
We're doing great. We're doing great. But I'll tell you what, you've got the good news to tell us that the weather is going to be good, right?
Yes, it will be better than yesterday.
All
Okay.
right.
We'll take that.
Yeah, we'll take that. We'll take that. So the general situation, what should we expect?
Say that again, please.
The general situation.
Okay, it's still relatively moist, but less than yesterday.
Okay.
So today we'll be seeing more sunshine. We will see some cloudy spells, and we will continue to see a few showers, but light, and it will affect most of the central and southern parts of the country.
All right. So with that said, where will we be getting our winds from?
Okay, now that's the interesting thing. East to northeasterly winds, 10 to 20 knots with higher gusts, and producing rough seas. So we have a small crop warning in effect.
So you did mention that's the interesting thing. We're wondering here, why would that be interesting?
Because that's something that I hope people will take heed of. I have observed most of our marine accidents are due to people not taking heed to these warnings.
Oh,
So,
all right. So this is when you were saying rough and then 10 to 20 knots and gusty.
that's right.
All right. So let's get into the temperatures then, highs and lows for today.
Okay, I would say on the cool side, 82 along the coast, 84 inland, 70 up in the Maya Mountains. Those are the max for this afternoon. And overnight temperatures, 74 along the coast, 68 inland, and 62 up in the Maya Mountains.
All right. And our extended forecast, what should we expect for the next few days?
Okay, for Thursday and Thursday night, we'll be seeing a gradual decrease in the shower activity. And then for Friday, we are seeing fair weather conditions.
All right, Francisca, thank you,
Okay.
man. We really appreciate that so somewhat of a good news. Thank you. And have
You're
a beautiful
welcome.
day.
All right. Bye.
You too. Okay,
All right.
bye-bye.
Well, now we know exactly what to expect, Mar. 24 hours, it says cloudy spells with a few showers mainly over central and southern parts of the country.
That's right. Yesterday was a very rainy day.
Yes, it was.
So I think we're all happy to know that it is decreasing.
Yep, definitely. All right, and so we move on with our show for today. We've got our eye opener.
Yep. Ready for some motivation for the morning?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. And this is our eye opener taken from dailyom.com, and it goes like this. When we live with intent, we own our actions instead of habitually performing them. We tend to associate the energy of intent with complicated or profoundly meaningful actions that require our full attention and effort in order to succeed. For example, walking a tightrope, taking a test, and taking a vow are all tasks that call us to be fully present and single-minded. However, intent can also be applied to everyday events, like eating breakfast, or going to work. In fact, everything we do benefits from the presence of intent, which has the power to transform seemingly mundane tasks into profound experiences. You only have to try it to find out. From the moment we wake up, we can apply intent to our situation by simply saying to ourselves, I am aware that I am now awake. We can use this simple tool throughout our day, saying, I am aware that I am driving to work. Or even, I am aware that I am breathing. As we acknowledge that we're doing what we're doing in these moments, we come alive to our bodies and to the world, owning our actions instead of habitually performing them. We may realize how often we act without intention and how this disengages us from reality. Applying the energy of intent to even one task a day has the power to transform our lives. Just imagine what would happen if we were to apply that power to our entire day.
Oh man, I just love it because it actually speaks about your daily task. This for me is talking about how you focus on specific things, you know, and you know, however intent can also be applied to everyday events. There's so many things that we do every day and we take it for granted. But what if we apply intent to it? And a specific spot in there talks about how you'll notice how things transform.
Yeah.
And then you know, when you're cognizant of transforming of things, Marlene, you know for a fact that you've been doing great, especially if it's your intent and it's something positive. And that in itself could change your life, change you for the rest of your life. Yeah. If that one time you apply intent to that particular task that you've been doing ever so long, and you find out that, my goodness, by applying this intent, I tend to skyrocket. Imagine what all could happen if you apply intent to everything that you do throughout your day. My goodness, I love it. I like that. I really like that.
Yeah. No, this one really speaks to me. I think we all get caught up in kind of just what we think are the trivialities of the day, the things that you have to get done, that you do every day, and we don't pay as much attention to what we're doing. And it can be really important moments in your life. Mm-hmm. Sitting and having a meal with your family is a very important thing in your life.
It is.
You know, that one about I am aware that I am breathing really struck me because it took me right back to a conversation we had yesterday with Dr. Cobb, who is a recovered COVID-19 patient, who said that's one of the things that he now accepts, he now recognizes, that we take for granted walking around and being able to breathe normally and naturally. Mm-hmm. Until you have a disease like COVID where you struggle. Mm-hmm. And so if there's ever a time we can be grateful for just our breath that happens without us even thinking about it, this is the time. But for me, the bigger picture is just awareness. Yeah. It is being mindful of the moment that you're in.
Yeah.
And because you're so caught up in kind of just getting things done and going with the pattern, you don't always take that time to have that sense of awareness in the moment. Yeah. And I love that it drives you to be able to do it. Yeah. We all do it. I mean, we got that autopilot on when we get in the car. We got that autopilot on when we walk into an office. And, you know, do you listen to the response when you say to someone, how are you? Or good morning?
Yeah.
So I think that we can all benefit from just being more present.
I love it. Just imagine what would happen if we were able to apply that power to our entire day. Wow.
Yeah.
Try it for today. Try for one thing that you do. Intent. You know, focus there. Whatever it is, focus there and see the power of your mind and how it changes your day. I love it.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And so, John, I am aware that today is a very big day for many people.
Yes.
Starting off internationally, today is the official inauguration of President Joe Biden in the United States. Well, he will be president by the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And that is a very big day for our North American friends. Of course, we know we have a lot of Belizeans who live in the diaspora as well. Many will be tuning in. It is going to be held in the middle of a pandemic and definitely under the most trying circumstances that I think we can recall in the United States. So much security, so much extra effort being placed to ensure that there is safety, not just at the inauguration, but across all 50 states. So it is a fascinating time, and I know there's been a lot of building of anxiety. I do wish the best, that things go smoothly and that the transition can take place without incident.
Well said, indeed. We're hoping that, and the world is actually watching this particular situation, that the transition is going to be a smooth one, and that it will happen without any violence. Like we mentioned, the world is watching there. And remember, there's a trickle-down effect for what happens in the U.S., and it happens throughout the world. And so, indeed, we're watching what's going to happen. By the end of today, Joe Biden, who right now at this particular time is the president-elect, and of course Kamala Harris, who is the vice president-elect, by the end of today, they'll be president and vice president.
Yeah.
So the world is watching.
It's great to be observers of monumental changes that take place like that. Kamala Harris will be the first female vice president, and therefore the first second gentleman will be in office. That's interesting to hear, right?
Very.
But one of the things I picked up on, a trend that's been taking place in the United States, is that today women are wearing pearls and sneakers, which are her favorite accessories.
Yes.
And I thought that was really cute that they have adapted parts of her style to kind of pay homage to the moment of a vice president, the first female vice president being sworn into office.
And person of female vice president, and of course a person of color.
That's right.
She's very trendy. She sets a lot of trends. And I think what that does as well, it actually speaks to the younger generation, because this is what we do. And this is how we wear stuff. So if we're able to see a leader actually being as loose when it comes to our dress style as we are, then we know for a fact that you're trying to reach out to us. You know, so this is definitely a plus for them.
Yeah.
But like we mentioned, Marlene, the world is watching.
That's right. And just to piggyback from looking at Americans seeing this moment, we are also here in Belize, laying to rest our first Governor General of Belize, the late Dr. Dame Minita Gordon. And we have seen 2 days of the state funeral so far, the arrival and the receiving of the body at the airport. Yesterday, she lay in state at the government house, which I just find so interesting, is the place that she once lived. She literally went home, and she was... Because of the pandemic, there was a viewing of the body from invited guests and families and invited friends. So that was really, just a momentous occasion to see people bidding farewell. One of the things we saw, as I see Honorable Dolores Balderramas Garcia there, from the people who did attend yesterday's viewing, was that no one seems to have lost that one of the greatest achievements, or one of the things that we will remember the most about this first Governor General, and I think a lot of us have been learning since she's passed, is how much she accomplished as a female and in that era.
Yeah, indeed. There are a lot of wonderful memories, and it has been spreading like wildfire on the internet here at home, and of course abroad, of how she touched a lot of lives, how certain she was in making sure that you're gentle, you're neat, and you're taking care of your tasks. Today is definitely one of those days that we will, or for the past 2 days, and of course inclusive of today, will be those days that we'll be eventually talking about in our future, which is healthy for us. Having great memories of people who have passed on and provided us with that certain way of we're taking care of business the proper way. That's a blessing for us in our country. And so for that, and of course to the late Dr. Dame Minita Gordon's family, we're so thankful, because she was a strong Belizean, and most of all, she was a strong Belizean woman.
First Belizean psychologist. She dedicated a lot of her time to the education sector. There you have images of the Girl Guides and the Brownies. She was a Girl Guide growing up. And in fact, she was a patron and a big supporter of the Guides Association, even into adulthood. And so that was interesting to hear.
I could remember growing up in Punta Gorda again. I always go there. But whenever we would hear that Dr. Dame Minita Gordon was coming down, it would always be with pomp and circumstance. It would be that we would line the streets and she would wave to us. It would be that she would come to a classroom and give words of wisdom to the students. So those days were, they're coming back. They're great memories. Because like I mentioned, Marlene, she touched the lives of Belizeans across this country for many years, and for that we're grateful.
Yeah, and so today will be the funeral, and she will be laid to rest at the Lord Ridge Cemetery. I know viewers are aware that we have been broadcasting the previous 2 days live, and that continues today. It will be starting at 9:20 a.m., and that's when the cortege, and the weather seems like it's going to cooperate today. I've been spending 2 days in the rain.
Yes, so, I've seen that.
Yeah, but the weather seems like it's going to cooperate, and so the funeral procession will start at the base of the Swing Bridge downtown. It will go up Albert Street, and it will take the body to the Anglican Cathedral, St. John's Cathedral Church, where there will be an ecumenical service at 10 a.m.
Okay.
Interesting to note, you will hear the church bells chime, or toll, I should say, at 9:30 across the country.
Okay.
That's one of the requests that have been made, so that across the country we can all pay our respects at that specific time. So at 9:30, you'll be hearing the bells ringing all around.
And also to mention is that to celebrate the life, public officers will be given half day today. So at 12 today, public officers will be off work for the remainder of the day.
That's right, and that's in honor of the state funeral that is taking place today as well. So after the ecumenical service, the procession then goes up Albert Street. It will go up Orange Street, and it continues from there to the Lord Ridge Cemetery, where then you will be able to see all the ceremony that is going to happen at a state funeral. Now, remember, there have only been 3 state. This is our 3rd state funeral. The last one we saw would have been for the father of the nation, and so we've seen official funerals, and things are going to be a little bit different. There's a lot of protocols that are going to be included in the ceremony itself, including the 21 gun salute and the flyover at that time as well. So there's going to be a lot that you can watch. Have the kids around so that they can learn a bit more. You know, our coverage, we have retired Major Lloyd Jones with us. He's able to really explain to us the significance behind all that is happening and the absolute precision that the Belize Defense Force has, and the honor that it is for them to be a part of this occasion as well.
Yes, if you're at home, because it's going to be on our social media platform.
That's right, on
and of course so if you're at home, this is a great opportunity to ask the children to come to the screen of your computer and you explain to them the significance of what's going on. We will have, of course, folks in to tell you exactly what's going on. And this is definitely something they would want to learn about. It will be in the future in terms of our historical events.
That's right. So once again, that broadcast starts at 9:20 a.m. And you, of course, if you're watching the show, you should know that immediately after Open Your Eyes, we'll have a recap of Day 1 and Day 2, the arrival and the viewing of the body. And so you'll be able to catch up on the broadcast as well. And we'll have a recap in our newscast later on tonight as well.
All right.
But
and
yes.
So, we move on with our show for this morning. We've got 3 segments lined up for you. As a matter of fact, in the first segment, the Ministry of Health will be having reps in. Then they'll be talking to us about COVID-19 myths and truths. I'm looking forward to that.
That's right. And the second part of our show, a very important topic. If you or someone you know are in an abusive relationship, we're going to be talking to the Executive Director of the National Women's Commission, and we're going to be talking about the signs that you can look for that the relationship is becoming abusive and how to leave the abuser.
And of course, in the third segment for this morning, sometimes we need a stern push to try new things and to find out that whenever we try things, you can venture down that road to succeed. So the third segment for today, it's going to be a conversation surrounding that COVID-19 prompted a young man to create his own business. So we'll tell you about those this morning. All right, so we don't have a birthday shout out. So I'll tell you what, if it is your birthday today, I'd like to wish you happy, happy birthday. We'll take the break, and when we come back, we'll be jumping on into our first conversation. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
In these challenging times, the one thing that is certain is that the Belize Bank Limited is here for you. There is nothing more important than your health and safety, and we continue to make every effort to make banking safer for you. Our staff is working around the clock to make sure you can do your banking conveniently 24/7 using our mobile banking app and online banking and keeping ATMs up and running. We value your relationship with us and are here to provide the support you need. First responders are also out there 24/7. Thank you, healthcare workers, security forces, firefighters, caregivers. You are all appreciated. Stay safe. We will get through this together. The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Es un hecho que puedes obtener servicios ilimitados con Smart. ¿Cansado de que se corte la línea cuando más necesitas estar conectado? Es un hecho que cuando te suscribes al plan de Smart Plus, obtienes llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Y también es un hecho que te puedes suscribir con un grupo de 5 miembros al plan Smart Share y hasta 40 miembros al plan Smart Enterprise para llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Smart tiene los verdaderos planes ilimitados. Es un hecho. Sé Smart y vive de forma Smart.
Hola, Tony.
Hey, Kevin, ¿qué onda? ¿Qué pasa?
Nada, le vine a buscar porque necesito comprar más mercancías de vasos y platos desechables para mi tienda de comestible. Me estoy quedando sin esas cosas.
No, hombre, fíjate que desde el 15 de abril no puedo importar nada de eso. Y se me acaba de terminar todo lo que tenía hace como 3 semanas.
Oye, pero nunca has estado sin esas cosas. ¿Qué está pasando?
Mira esto. Esta es la nueva ley que prohíbe todo el uso de plásticos no reutilizables. Esos son vasos, platos, cucharas, tenedores, todo eso. Desde 15 de abril de este año no he podido importar nada de eso. A partir del 15 de enero del 2021 nadie puede fabricarlo. 15 de abril 2021 nadie lo puede vender. Y a partir del 14 de julio del 2021 si alguien te agarra con eso, te multan.
Híjole, no sabía eso. Necesito cambiar algunas cosas. Les diré a mis clientes por qué esas cosas ya no están disponibles. Gracias, Antonio.
Así es, cuídate, man.
And we'll be back in a few, so stay tuned. Thanks, Jen. Hey there, we know you have to head out to work shortly, but don't forget that you can stay tuned by watching us on our Facebook live stream. Find us at Open Your Eyes BC, and you can continue watching there. You can also download Facebook Watch on your streaming device, and you can watch at your own convenience.
And for all the behind-the-scenes fun, follow us on Instagram at OYE Belize. So,
find us
and follow us
today.
When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Channel 5 introduces the Daily Obituaries. The Daily Obituaries will broadcast all death and funeral announcements and memorials to honor your loved one's life and memories. The Daily Obituaries airs on Channel 5 prior to the evening newscast, with subsequent repeats at 10 p.m. and 12 noon the following day. It will also be placed online on our social media platforms, all for a standard package fee. Celebrate their lives and memories with Channel 5's Daily Obituaries. Honor in life and reverence in death.
Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We're now moving into our first segment for the morning. And the conversation is going to surround reps of the Ministry of Health. And we'll be talking about COVID-19 myths and truths. thoughts. This is definitely a very important conversation because there are some folks who think this and then think that, but we've got the pros in to tell us all about it. As a matter of fact, in with us, we've got John Bowden, who is the Principal Public Health Inspector of the Ministry of Health, Kathleen Cho, who is the Health Educator for the Ministry of Health, and Antonio Egar, who is the Epidemiologist at the Ministry of Health. I hope I got that correct. So guys, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting us.
I'll tell you what, it's nice to have you guys in. But let's get on into this conversation. COVID-19 and everybody with their thoughts everywhere. But what should be of most important is that we should be having this one thought of trying to get it, trying to not spread it, and adhering to the rules from the Ministry of Health. There's some people who think that it's not even true. And I want to start there. And I'll go to John. John, tell us about this. Some folks are thinking it's just a myth. This is not true. There's no such thing. They're just trying to control us. What are your words on this? What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, I believe that sentiment is not by a resounding many people, but a few people still exist within our population and globally as well, whereby people believe that, COVID was actually developed by somebody, or it is for some other reason a part of myth and all of that. So in saying that, it has become a challenge in terms of addressing COVID to those population, and to have them take the necessary measures for prevention. And at this time, we find it imperative that we present the accurate information in regards to what COVID is. And of course, it is a new infectious disease that has surfaced. And of course, it is very deadly. We cannot underscore that, especially for those individuals who have underlying conditions. And I think in this second phase that we have been seeing the rise in the number of cases and, of course, the number of deaths, it has been more imminent and very pronounced that this disease is real and it is here with us to stay, at least for the time being, until we could have a cure for it.
Coupled with people, and definitely would love to hear. I know you guys are answering questions all the time. There's the hotline that people call into. So you do quite your bit of clarifying misconceptions and potential myths that people may believe. But one of the things I think that is coupled with people who think maybe it's not real is also that maybe it's not as serious. We get these numbers that the majority of people are going to survive, that people get COVID and feel nothing. So this is really just nothing more than a flu. How often do you hear people saying this, and what do you respond to it?
I believe that is one of the concerns as we go along, or the community have discussion with others. Very often, of course, and the presentation of COVID in individuals are different based on their immunity, whether they have other underlying conditions. So for some, it might be just a walk in the park and then it's over. And in fact, in some cases, people don't even have any kind of symptoms that develop, and especially those asymptomatic individuals. And so when you hear people engaging in this sort of discussion, it's basically that they are giving from their own personal experience what it has been for them. But we have to remember that it will be different in every other person's. For those people who are very who has a severe effect from it, you will hear a different story. You would hear about almost reaching death's gate, and for some, they are unable to tell the story because they are no longer here. And so that continues to be the trend in terms of COVID and the experience people have from it. And it kind of makes it a little challenging when you hear all these sort of different stories about the impact of it. But one thing we do know because a lot of people like to relate it to a flu. In fact, initially when COVID started, they were saying that it's like a flu and, you know, nothing bad is really going to happen. But then eventually we start seeing that, you know, the health implications became very serious and critical in many cases.
Yeah. But speaking of the flu, I'm sure that I've never heard anything about having the flu and you don't know. Any such thing, John?
In terms of the flu, yes, you always have some symptoms. Obviously, again, it can be serious for others, and sometimes it can be mild for individuals.
Yeah, and it also, you know, I think one of the things that we hear and read about is that it also has residual effects that you wouldn't see with even a really bad flu.
Yes, that is true. In fact, some new scientific evidence is coming forward in terms of people who have recovered from COVID, that after a couple months, they would actually return to a hospital with some side effects, and actually there is actually probably 2 deaths out of every 10 person that returns to the hospital as a result of side effects.
Yeah. So definitely more than a bad flu, and I appreciate the point that you make that it's also being very inconsiderate of those who've lost loved ones to COVID-19 as well.
Yes. And of course, I think over the last couple of months, we have been seeing that. And I believe if you look at the trend now in terms of the number of cases we're finding out, I think it has really made people look at it in a different manner, that this is a really serious illness that we're dealing with, and people need to take more precautionary measures. And so I think that can lend some level of support in terms of the decrease in the number of cases that we're seeing.
All right.
So Kathleen and Antonio, on this first slide, which is myth number 1, it's just a bad flu. Any one of you guys want to take on any of what we just discussed?
Yeah, I'd actually like to add to what Mr. Bowden just said. So a couple of things. First of all, dealing with the most obvious thing, you know, people are still worried, or some people would be worried about, am I going to die? And so they would look at the numbers, look at the mortality rate, and think to themselves, okay, so what's a 2.5 mortality rate if that basically means that I have a 97, 98% chance of living? But it actually gets more complex than that, because first of all, while the majority of deaths are still concentrated in persons who are 60 years or older, that is no guarantee whatsoever that young people cannot die. And actually, we have had a couple of cases of persons in the country in their 20s who, due to other complications, have also passed away. So that's one thing. Young people are not entirely exempt and from passing away from COVID-19. This isn't true only of Belize, it's also true of other countries such as the US and other countries all around the world that have actually recorded deaths among persons who are under the age of 50. But even looking at it at the long term, which Mr. Bowden had alluded to and had begun to speak about, as Mr. Bowden rightly pointed out, there is mounting evidence that if you contract COVID, it's not necessarily the end of the story once all of your symptoms go away. Just recently, an article had appeared online showing that in patients in Texas, just to give you one example, they had actually done a before and after X-ray of people's lungs after having contracted COVID and compared it to persons who had been lifetime smokers. And what they found out was that the COVID lungs of persons who had contracted COVID, even if they had recovered, or felt that they had made a full recovery, actually were worse than persons who had spent maybe years or decades smoking.
Wow.
So that's one thing to think about. I mean, the hidden damage, as Marlene had spoken about. And then continuing on that theme of unseen damage that COVID causes, again, multiple studies from multiple countries around the world are bolstering this evidence by actually showing that COVID is more of a vascular disease. So, you know, you initially feel the symptoms in obviously your upper respiratory tract, your nose, your throat, your lungs. Also as well, in some cases, the fatigue. But what it actually does is irritate the lining of the inside of your blood vessels, so that in fact it actually causes damage to all of your internal organs that can actually be unseen. Again, to quote another study that had recently come out, looking at pediatric patients, so basically kids who are 10 years and younger, who had contracted COVID. In terms of the actual symptoms, again, the data is showing that children, for the most part, the vast majority make full recoveries, which obviously is amazing, is great. But then when they actually did microanalysis of these children's circulatory systems, again, they found the same pattern that they found in healthy adults, which was that many of these children had actually developed internal bleeding on a micro level, or damage to some of their internal organs. Now, the question remains whether or not these children will make full recoveries, or whether or not this will end up being something more serious that will affect them with time. That is an unknown, and I think if there are any parents watching at this time, I mean, think about that. You don't let your child just catch measles or chickenpox or have a pneumonia or anything like that and say, well, I'll just see if they'll survive. I mean, I don't think any right-thinking parent out there would do that. So why, with a brand new disease that we are literally still finding out more about on a daily basis, why would you take the chance of having them, contract the illness and not only potentially pass it on to their grandparents, but you don't know if you're actually shortening their life 10, 20, 30 years down the road. And likewise, the same is true for adults who contract it. I mean, again, the evidence is still growing, and obviously it will continue to grow with the years as we continue to follow up COVID patients. But all of the evidence is pointing to the direction that it significantly increases your chances of having a stroke down the line, of having a cardiovascular event, of having internal bleeding of some sort. So this is by no means the end of the story once you get COVID and recover. I mean, it's not actually a full recovery in most cases.
And I think that's perhaps one of the common misconceptions that we hear very often, that it's just the elderly and the sick that have to be concerned about this disease. I know you've shared with us numbers before, Antonio, that the bulk of the cases that are identified are actually in younger adults. And some of these people go into the hospital for treatment as well.
Yes, that's right.
All right. So we know that it can affect from children right up to the elderly, so no one is completely safe.
Yeah.
And the studies are ongoing to see what effects this disease has on the younger people as well. Let's bring it over to Kathleen for a bit. Kathleen, what's the one thing that you keep on hearing that you would just love to clarify for all our viewers?
Yes, thanks, Marlene, for that. That point there, that it's affecting the older population or elders, I think that is something that we keep hearing. And for the most part, the younger population feels a little bit more relaxed. But we do see both older people and the younger population being affected. And especially those with the pre-existing condition, people who suffer from asthma, diabetes, and heart disease, those are the individuals who are most vulnerable to being severely affected. And if we look at the data that Mr. Antonio had shared with us in December when we had the Christmas campaign being rolled out, we did look at the COVID-19 incidence, and that was shown to be highest among the population 20 to 29. So that accounts for about more than 26% of our COVID cases, confirmed cases. And again, it can be a contributing factor to the younger people transmitting it to the older folks at home. So that is something that we definitely need to keep on stressing, that it can affect both the young and the older population, especially those with pre-existing conditions. So that is something that we want to keep on stressing.
Yeah. And what about some of the skepticism, or let's shift it. A lot of talk is about being as healthy as possible, building up your immune system. So there are two things that we see. We see a lot of reliance on taking extra vitamins, on creating home remedies and immunity boosters. Let's talk, and people even promote it as a prevention from getting the disease. Do you want to talk about whether or not there's been any evidence to suggest that having all this vitamin-rich food or herbs is going to help in preventing the disease?
So, yes, being physically healthy, eating well, your vitamins, your nutrients that you get from your food does play an important role in building your immune system. Yeah. And you want to have that for any disease. Mm-hmm. You want to be able to fight any disease. You want to be able to boost your immune system by keeping healthy. And we do see some evidence of those people perhaps not having severe symptoms, especially if they are younger as well. Mm-hmm. In terms of the home remedies, you do hear about, honey, garlic, lime, fever grass, turmeric. Mm-hmm. Those all can be helpful, but in moderation to treat the minor symptoms, the fever, the sore throat, the cough. But if you have, more severe symptoms, you start to see that they persist for a longer period of time. Mm-hmm. You start to see the severity increase. Then you want to seek medical treatment. And it's important to have that supportive care, especially at the local hospital or from a clinician or a health facility. Yeah. So it's very important to keep staying healthy, mm-hmm. but we also have to still base our information on scientific evidence. And we are learning every day more about the virus.
Kathleen.
And
sure.
Let me just keep on that vein, though. Okay. So we're talking about immune systems. And one of the things that we hear from some people, and this is not by no means saying everybody thinks it, but some people do, that all the distance that we are encouraging may actually be weakening our immune system.
Yeah.
Do you want to try to debunk or deconstruct that one?
Yeah.
Yes, that is something that we have recently come across, that the physical distancing is weakening our immune system, but it's very necessary for us to decrease the risk of transmission of these diseases. And we've been employing physical distance for decades with other diseases for generations. So it's something that we have been doing. It's very logical to avoid people who are sick. If you come at the workplace and you see someone coughing, sneezing, or instinct is to keep away from that person. That person should stay at home and recover until she or he has cleared of those symptoms.
Yeah.
So this is why we ask people, stay at home, monitor your symptoms, maintain that physical distancing, avoid social gatherings, avoid crowds. And this is because, our immune system is a natural defense system. Mm-hmm. It protects our bodies from infections, and we have seen that it will continuously develop. It will continuously adjust to our environment, and our environment changes on a day-to-day basis.
Kathleen, I think one of the things that you mentioned is, especially when it comes to people and home remedy, moderation. I think that's a very big word there, because one of the things we could tell you is that people who are hearing that some of these remedies are working, like for instance the vervine and the lemongrass tea and different things like that. It's like every 10, 15, 20 minutes, every hour, you're popping a glass of it. And let's stress on how important it is to take whatsoever you're doing with moderation.
Right. It does, especially, we have our older folks who would say, these work and it will be better to stay at home and take all these home remedies. But indeed moderation. And we don't want to shy away from seeking treatment when it's very necessary for us to pay more attention to symptoms, staying at home and seeing, okay, our fever has reduced because we're taking, our fever grass tea. But you have other conditions underlying that complications, some other co-infections that might be taking place, and we're not aware of it just because we're going based on the fever has reduced. But there are several other things that might be taking place with the individual that might need that supportive treatment at a health facility.
So you should check in with you. I mean, lemongrass tea or fever grass tea, it's delicious. I'd love to continue drinking it. But I should also check in with a doctor to make sure that all my symptoms are being addressed rather than maybe just soothing my sore throat.
Right, definitely. You might be feeling, it gives us that feeling of getting well, of recovering, but it's necessary for us to always touch base with a medical practitioner just to see where we are physically and how we're progressing as well.
And I guess that goes to another core idea that floats about very often, which is the cure already exists. It may be herbal remedies, it may be big pharma who's holding on to it, it may be doctors saving it for themselves. What do we know? What does the science say about potential cures for COVID-19 so far?
There is still no cure for COVID-19. We are still learning about this virus. The researchers, the pharmaceutical companies, we are seeing more of the type of treatment, the supportive treatment that comes with it. And it's important for us to find out a little bit more about this so that we can help reduce the length and the severity of the illness. And we have, drugs, steroids, and other medication that are being given to our patients while they're hospitalized. And this has come with clinical trials that have supported this accumulating evidence. But there's still no cure, and I believe it's very important to keep learning. The more we learn, the better we will be able to treat our critically ill patients, and that we see fewer people die from this disease.
Yeah, some people might say, but there is a vaccine. But let's break that up there. Is a vaccine a cure?
Can I take this question?
Sure.
Yeah, so first of all, going back to what Ms. Cho was saying, just to very briefly touch on the topic of home remedies. So what a lot of people, and I know this was not mentioned directly, might have also been hearing about is basically the combination of vitamin D, zinc, and vitamin C. And just to very briefly touch on those, it is important in a healthy, functioning adult for them to have adequate levels of vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc in their system. Especially in the case of zinc, that actually blocks the pathway by which the virus actually enters into your bloodstream, into your cells to replicate. In the case of vitamin D, it's actually a hormone that actually promotes the proper functioning of a lot of other mechanisms in your body, not necessarily just the immune system, but that's one of the functions. And vitamin C, while it does have some beneficial effects, that basically is something that would be administered at high levels at a medical facility if you would actually want to use it as a form of treatment. So speaking of treatment now, the vaccine is not actually a treatment. What the vaccine is a mechanism by which your body's immune system would actually recognize the virus before going into your body. And once it actually becomes infected, produce the necessary antibodies to actually make you well or to overcome the illness. So there are several things to take into consideration when actually speaking about the vaccine and efficacy, which is what basically we're talking about, whether or not the vaccine actually works or not. But the most important thing to take away is that even with, say, for example, the Pfizer vaccine, which is supposed to have a 95 or above level of effectiveness, efficiency in terms of preventing the virus, that doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot catch the virus. What it means is that you will either not have any severe symptoms, so you might end up being an asymptomatic carrier, which is exactly what we don't want, because asymptomatic carriers are actually what we have found out across the world and even in Belize to be driving the whole epidemic. People who think that they're healthy and who feel healthy, but like I mentioned, there might be more going on in their immune system and they might actually be spreading it to others. And as a result of that, there is not necessarily a guarantee that the vaccines that have been made for one strain, the dominant strain at this time, are necessarily going to translate into protecting you against all of the other strains. And there's at least 3 other variants of coronavirus that we know are rapidly increasing across the world. Whether or not the vaccine is going to be effective against all 3 of them or one of them, or not going to be effective against them at all, is something that is still being closely monitored by researchers around the world. So a vaccine basically gives you a step up, an advantage over the virus, so to speak, in terms of your immune system. But whether or not it'll actually prevent you from spreading it to others, whether it'll actually prevent you against all strains of the virus, compared to, say, like, you know, just the way that we have to have a new flu shot every single year because the flu evolves so quickly. Those are still questions that are hanging in the air at this moment. And so as a result of that, while we welcome and we would very much like to see a higher percentage of the vaccine to be administered to populations in Belize and around the world to increase herd immunity by vaccination, there's still too many elements that we are not 100% sure about at this time. That means that we would still have to be encouraging caution when proceeding with COVID-19. And that's actually something that's been echoed by public health experts in the CDC and other countries around the world, that, you know, the masks don't automatically get thrown away the minute we all get vaccinated. There's going to be a period of wait and see, so to speak. And so that is definitely what we will be seeing in Belize in the coming months and years.
Yeah. Some say way beyond this year we'll be seeing masks. And while we are on this issue, let's talk about all the beliefs that people have about masks. So, you know, we still hear people talking about breathing back in your carbon dioxide, that they're not healthy. We still have people who think that any covering is sufficient, but masks aren't created equally. Some are better than others. So let's tackle the masks one. Who wants to do this one?
And Marlene, let me take that on.
Yeah.
In fact, of course, we know that mask as we know it, and it has been evolving over this COVID period. Initially, we just started with the basic masks, and people were using those. And of course, what we did learn that there needs to be a barrier that would actually ensure that we can prevent the entrance of the COVID virus into the nostrils or into the mouth of the individuals. And so at the initial stage, before we had the community spread, using just a regular mask would have been good enough. And that in most countries, and if you look at the Asian countries, then you would realize that people use masks on a daily basis, and it has become a daily part of their life. However, that has been only for the contaminants that is within the air itself. And so for that purpose, a mask that does not have a filter is good enough. But when we speak about COVID, it needs to be a 3-ply, which has a filter in the middle, which allows you to filter out the COVID virus whenever it tries to penetrate the barrier. For those people who work within the health system, of course, they need more protection. And so what we look at is the N95 mask for those people who are dealing with people who are infected, or if they're caring for individuals who are infected at home. So we look at the N95 mask. Of course, the way people respond to the different type of masks would be based on whether they have some underlying condition. For example, if you have underlying respiratory condition already, some people are unable to, for example, like COPD, they might not be breathing on a routine basis, not breathing properly. And so the challenge will be now that when they wear the mask, it will feel a little bit of reduced oxygen to their lungs. And as such, people would not want to wear it. But it is very important at this point in time because there are only 3 means of entrance of the virus in the body. It's your mouth, it's your nose, and your eyes. So the use of the mask is critical because in most cases, people's mouth is open, either you're talking or you have to breathe continuously. And so you need to ensure that those two are very, it is that in most cases covered up.
Yeah.
The issue of the eyes, for those people who actually wear glasses, of course, they are at an advantage because it tends to form a barrier. But the mask, for many people, is not something that we have been accustomed to using. And so it is a challenge for us on a daily basis to actually continue to wear them. But Marlene, it's just like anything that is new. At the very initial stage, you find all kind of issue with it, but then your body starts adjusting. For example, you might have irritation on the side of your face because of the bands that it has.
Oh, I know.
But eventually, you realize that, you know what? My face is not used to some friction with something there all the time. And then eventually, you don't even remember that you had that issue because your face gets used to it. And so it's the same thing. We talk about it must be worn consistently. And initially people were leaving their mask home, they're forgetting. And now when you look at the habits of individual, and it has been modified significantly, whereby people take out stocks of masks from their bags, sometimes because they want to blend in with the people at work. Sometimes it's to blend in with what they're wearing for the day. But people have multiple. They are carrying multiple on.
So let me throw in my own one here. Double masks. Are they helpful or hurtful?
Double masks?
Yeah. Doubling up on the masks.
It definitely can contribute more positively because if you're wearing 2 masks, then you're multiplying the effect in terms of protection. So that is good. Obviously, the more you actually do layering, of course, there's a reduction of oxygen, and we have to be very careful with that. If you are comfortable wearing it, then it's okay. But if you feel that level of discomfort where there's not enough oxygen going to your lungs, then it's not advisable to do that because the mask in itself, the single mask, should offer that protection. If you need different level of protection, then you would then see N95 mask if you're dealing with people who have the infection, or if it's just routine basis, then you could use just a triple layer filter.
John, I think there are 2 classes of people here. There are people who are wearing a mask because the law requires, and there are people who are wearing a mask because they really do want to protect themselves and their loved ones from the illness. The effectiveness of masks, we kind of glazed over it. You said multiple layers are important. But I also wanted to touch on the valve mask that we see people using. For example, you can't go on a plane with any mask that has a valve. And that's because it isn't equally protective.
Yes, I'm happy that you made that because it's not only the valve mask itself, but also the neck gaiters that people are using that offers no protection against COVID-19. And many people are using it. And I think as we go, we continue in this pandemic, we have to realize that there are certain things that will work and there will be some things that don't work. And we have to ensure that whatever we are using for protection actually suits the level of protection that is required at this time. The GateUp would have probably been okay at the initial phase of the pandemic, whereby there was not a community spread. But now we have almost everybody, or many people, and in most cases, people are symptomatic and you don't know. And so you don't want to leave that chance to not having that level of protection that is required when you're in contact with an infected person.
Yeah.
And so the gaiters actually would allow penetration. The mask with a valve would actually allow penetration as well, because that is doing is to regulate the air that goes in. Of course, there are some that has the valve that has a filter, but it's not all of them that carries a filter.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, the last one I want to touch on, just because it's very good for business, is
Yes.
the thermal scanners. We shouldn't be relying on just what the temperature check says.
Yeah.
Who wants to take that one?
Well,
Yes, so I'll take that on, and then maybe John can add in. Yes, the thermal scanners are effective in detecting the changes in temperature, so it can be able to detect a fever and the higher body temperature in those who are infected with COVID-19. However, we do see many cases of asymptomatics who are not displaying any signs or symptoms, and it would take a period of 2 to 10 days, 14 days before someone who is infected to start displaying any type of symptoms and becoming sick. So in that case, the thermal scanner would not be effective in detecting those individuals. Also, the flu, you have your seasonal flu that causes similar symptoms to COVID-19, and one of that is fever, which is a change in body temperature.
Yeah.
So yes, that's one of our very common myths, especially traveling, transversing through airports. We come across that myth.
So it's a good practice, but you can't rely exclusively on that.
Right.
Antonio, Kathleen, and John, you have taught us so much.
So many
in
so many
so
things.
little time. And I know this is a conversation that we continue having as we learn more about COVID-19 as time progresses. But thank you for dispelling and helping us understand more about the thought patterns behind some of these myths, and we appreciate you bringing us the facts.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
All right, and we're about to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be jumping on into our second conversation. Now, very important to note, signs of domestic violence and how to leave an abuser. We'll tell you about those when we come back.
Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service. Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
Actualmente, el virus de COVID-19 en el país sigue siendo una amenaza. Debido a que el virus nos necesita para propagarse de una persona a otra, podemos evitar que infecte a otros si practicamos el distanciamiento físico. Eso significa, manténgase al menos a 6 pies de distancia de otras personas. Evite el contacto físico. No se salude con besos, abrazos ni de mano. No se reúna en grupos grandes. Quédese en casa cuando los oficiales de la salud así lo indiquen. Utilice los medios sociales o el teléfono para comunicarse con los amigos. Evite los espacios cerrados y las áreas con mucha gente. Trabaje desde casa si puede. No visite a nadie que esté enfermo, en cuarentena o en aislamiento. Mejor, llámelos por teléfono. Protejamos nuestra salud.
Abigail. Abigail.
Yes, Gran?
Abigail, I can't breathe well.
Granny, we need to go to the hospital to get you checked out.
No! I'm fine.
Yes, Gran, we need to go now to get you treated. Now, before it's too late.
No, 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 no.
Grandma, we need to go for all of us.
No, no, no.
Stop. If you are having flu-like symptoms, please call us immediately for medical guidance. If you have chronic conditions such as diabetes and you're experiencing symptoms such as shortness of breath or chest pain, please also seek medical attention immediately. We've lost a lot of people this year. We don't want to lose you too. Please seek help if necessary. Call us at 0800-664-2273. Continue to wear your mask at all times. Keep physical distance when in public and stay at home unless absolutely necessary. This message has been brought to you by the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We're moving now into our second segment for the morning. This one is about signs of domestic violence and how to leave an abuser. Now we've got in to talk to us about it, Executive Director of National Women's Commission, none other than our dear friend Cynthia Williams. Cynthia, good morning.
Good morning, John. Good morning, Marlene. Thank you for the invitation. It's always a good opportunity to share information, even though the topic might not be as positive, but it's important for us to do continued awareness raising and advocacy.
Definitely. You know what? You're so right in terms of the topic might not be something that people would want to even hear about because it irks the soul. There was a news item that we aired, I think it was last week, and I watched it, and I was extremely upset when I saw what had occurred in terms of a domestic violence situation that I think happened down south. Right now, as we speak about it, I'm emotional about it simply because I know how important I feel, or how great I feel about my wife and my children being females, and how important a woman is to life. So let's talk about, the signs and symptoms of domestic violence, or let's define it. What is domestic violence?
In terms of domestic violence, is violence that is perpetrated against someone within the household. In Belize, we took it a little bit beyond just intimate partner violence, which is the situation that you described just now. We've included any member within the family household, or what we consider visiting relation, boyfriend, girlfriend, and ex-partner as well. Being inflicted with violence, whether it's physical, economical, psychological, and emotional. And while, the incident, the most recent incident being very gruesome, and just the way that it was.
Yes.
It was perpetrated. The reality is that is just one of the cases that reach the public eye. On a daily basis, we have women facing these type of situations, and I think it's important to highlight the fact that what the public hears in the media is just one case, and unfortunately, often it's the most serious ones, or one of the most serious ones that you may hear about it. And so the media really plays an important point in terms of keeping this type of discussion open and alive, not just when these incidents happen. And I remember having a conversation with one of the reporters in your station, and the Women's Commission is trying to see how we can also work with reporters in trying to also do stories, human stories, to ensure that people are aware of what's going on and the information information. And I had put out a challenge to that reporter, and actually I'm going to be following up on that. On a monthly basis, try to cover certain areas of the topic in terms of domestic violence, sexual violence, gender-based violence in general. Because it is important for people to recognize when they are in these situations. Often it starts very small. I had sent some images to the producer, and if they can bring up the violence cycle on screen, I would appreciate it, because it clearly defines and explains what happens in these type of instances. While these may have been physical violence that you can actually see, there are a lot of issues that you don't see, such as emotional violence, psychological violence, and economic violence as well. And so all of these kind of follow the same pattern in terms of the cycle, where everything is calm, so people feel everything is okay. They're able to communicate to a certain degree. They feel they have a certain sense of control of their own actions and decisions. And then the tension building begins. And so this is where persons begin to see some of the signs, such as everything will make the perpetrator upset. There's a lot of blaming. There's a lot of anger. Persons, and this is becoming almost a cliche, but the person feels like they're walking on around eggshells when they're close.
Trying not to make that bomb explode.
Exactly. And so when any person experiences those type of feelings, those are red flags. Even in dating relationships, we're beginning to see these type of situations. Even in the younger generations, what we call dating violence, because they are seeing and feeling these type of feelings, that they are afraid, they're fearful, they don't feel that they can speak to people that they would like to, they feel controlled. And a lot of these things start very small, they don't start very outwardly, and so people need to be able to be aware of that. Often it is kind of tied in expressions of care, of concern. I don't want you to go out too much with your friends, or I don't want you to be alone because it's unsafe. And the issue of COVID even exacerbates the situation now, because a lot of times additional factors come into play. And so the person even might feel that they have even less power to be able to make a decision and to have a sense of control and protection from this type of situation.
And let's take the opportunity to talk about that. I remember at the start of the lockdowns, we had a conversation about the potential for increases in domestic violence reports and cases. And as was predicted, as we saw in other parts of the world, there definitely was an increase. And I know it's always important for us to say, these are just the ones that are reported. There are many more that happen beyond those who pick up the phone and call the police. Let's try to focus it here and talk to those who may be seeing signs within their relationship, within their household. Maybe they never experienced physical violence in the relationship before, but the stressors have changed and the amount of time we're spending together has changed. Talk to us about what are some of the things you should pay attention to as early warning signs.
Right. I think I've already started mentioning some of those early signs already, but especially now. As you know, we live in a society where even within the home, a lot of the responsibilities continue to fall on women. And so that could also be some signs in terms of whenever persons are requiring their partners, those persons that they live with, to share in the household chores and responsibilities in the care of the children, if that in and of itself also brings situations of conflict, of arguments, and belittling, and saying that's your responsibility. I am, let's use the example of men, because they continue to be the perpetrators in most of these cases. you know, that's your responsibility as a woman, you know. So there's a lot of jealousy also, even in terms of the time that the person might spend with children, the time they spend on doing things. So it's almost contradictory, because at one point they want to spend too much time with them, but they also expect for the person to do other things within the household.
Yeah.
You know, looking at how do you control your control in terms of the even spending time with your family or calling them on the phone, and constantly being around when you're in discussions with your family, and making sure that you don't share too much of what's going on in the household is also some signs that you can look at. Definitely criticism. Everything that the person might be doing is not enough. When it comes even to the food, to the way they might clean the house, to the way that they take care of the children. So there's a lot of negativity and a lot of blaming going on. And what we keep saying is that sometimes in these relationships, these types of behaviors are even before people live together, even within the dating relationship. And so as a couple, people really need to be able to be aware, especially persons who may have been involved in situations. Studies continue to show that persons who grow in domestic violence situations often have issues and problems in the future in their relationships. Even they have issues with child abuse in their household, because the issue of power and control is at the foundation of what drives domestic violence in our country and in everywhere, because it's the way that they will try and retain their position as leaders, as decision makers in their home, especially if, for example, females or women might be the ones who might earn more, who might have to leave the house and the person is not employed. So these are all things that really people have to pay attention. It is not easy, because at the end of the day, you're in a relationship with anybody because you love them, you have feelings for them. And often the person will make excuses or will find reasons to say, well, he did this because of the stress, or you know, he doesn't mean it. And people have to be aware of that as well. But it's not a very easy situation. I've been in conversations where people are judged for not leaving.
I was going to say that. Yeah, I'm so glad you touched on that. We do it. We all do it. We watch and say, why are you with someone who would do X, Y, or Z, from, you know, the mundane of what seems little like isolation to the very severe physical abuse. And we look from the outside and judge, but we forget that these are two people who are in a relationship. And even with healthier, I don't want to say healthy, because, you know, healthier relationships, you have bad days, you have good days. And, you know, the perpetrator is someone who is loved by the person that they inflict this pain on.
Exactly. And I think, you know, like you did say healthier relationships. I would really like to challenge anybody that would tell me that they're in a relationship I've never had issues. They've never had arguments, serious arguments, serious issues. But I think the problem comes in when the amount of control and violence that is perpetrated on one person, then that makes a difference. You know, and unfortunately we do judge, and in a way we're playing into the manipulation of the perpetrator, because we're leaving those persons alone. We feel that because they went back the first time or the second or the third or whatever amount of times they go back, because we close ourselves to that support that we ought to give them, then we're putting them at risk as well. So it's important that family and friends and even the community recognize that even if the person does go back, they've at least saved that person that instant.
That particular
and you could
time.
have saved that life. And it is very hard, I think, for us who work in the sector. Sometimes it can be frustrating and it can be, you know, debilitating to be able to do that. But we must not leave them alone. And I think that is what people need to remind themselves.
Cynthia, you know, and I'd like for us to take some time as well to talk about how to leave these abusers. I mean, you know, you're in this relationship for years, and love is there. It's a thing when hearts are intertwined with each other, and then it just combined to make that one. And then you've got children who are at the forefront of this, and they're seeing it, because that is just hitting on mom, and to them it becomes like this norm, which is so terrible. And mom is trying to find a way of getting out of this situation. I need to, because I am not able to live like this and I could lose my life. So, Cynthia, what about steps in breaking away from this abusive relationship? How can we guide these people to do this?
First of all, they need to be aware that however limited services are, there are services in Belize that can provide protection and safety and provide support. They do require a lot of psychosocial support, especially, and in addition, some require economic support, because sometimes they might be completely dependent on that person. However, I think what is important to recognize is that the love portion, or the love component, might be more on the victim and survivor, because at the end of the day, what we don't do is we don't hold the perpetrator accountable. We do have laws in Belize, and this is where a multi-sectoral approach needs to happen, because they need to be held accountable by law. Yeah. And even though a lot of persons do not make reports, do not reach the courts, even in the instances that they do reach the courts, this is an opportunity to help people understand that if you are engaged in this type of behavior, there'll be consequences. And we might not be as strong as we should be in these type of interventions. Yeah. In terms of the person themselves, is be able to, the importance of everyone knowing what is available plays a role, because if the person cannot access information, if the person is still not aware, or really doesn't have that support, because going to the court, going to the police is not an easy situation. It's they feel humiliated, they feel ashamed. Yeah. So having that person to support them along to go and make the report, accessing services through the Ministry of Human Development, which is the main duty bearer that provides this type of services. In terms of protection is the police. We do have hotlines that we're trying to really promote for people to call for emergency assistance. These calls don't always have to come from the person in the situation. They can come from neighbors. They can come from family members. Mm-hmm. And while we know that not all the times these might work as they're supposed to, we are trying to see how we can also document these instances and, again, hold those duty bearers accountable and find out what are the gaps. Why are these hotlines not being responded to? We also included now cell phone number for people to be able to text, because sometimes it's not easy to call. But being able to, first of all, recognize when these situations of violence are coming, because from the cycle you saw that it's different stages. So yeah. After the tension builds, then comes the actual implode of violence against a person. And so being able to recognize that and reaching out, and it is not easy, and so being able to then leave, develop your safety plan. And this is where the officers from the Women's Department can support them in being able to look at what are the things that you really need if you're going to leave. If you have children who are of age who understand, and even depending on the age, or sometimes they need to include them in this type of planning, having their documentation available and in a place where they can easily access it, because often perpetrators take that from them and they or tell them that they can't leave because their children they are the parents, the fathers of them, and so they can't go. So being able to be aware. So if a neighbor knows all this information, let them know what it is, so that the person is informed and knows that at least there are services available. Trying to leave is the most dangerous part of a situation, because that's when the person will try to retain control over them. And being able to really do that, they use violence. They use psychological violence especially, and a lot of emotional trauma that these persons have suffered, really in so many ways doesn't allow them to see their resources and being able to see where they can access support.
And this is where I guess it's two people you call on. One, for the person who is in the relationship to reach out, and most importantly for friends and family, no matter how many times they've tried, maybe failed, maybe been shunned, to not give up on that loved one.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and even for family members, it's a challenge. I've had conversations with many of them, you know, they don't know what to do. They feel helpless. And the fact is, just keep on giving that support and trying to maintain safety at least one time every time, and the person will be able to recognize. And they do need a lot of psychosocial support, because years of emotional and psychological abuse really takes away that sense of who you are as an individual, that sense of dignity, that sense of self-worth of who you are, and only sees themselves through the eyes of the perpetrator. And so the perpetrator then uses that as a mechanism to retain them in that situation. So for people who have left that, it's important to also be able to provide that type of maybe support in some way. They don't have to do it publicly, but be able to say, I left, I was able to leave. The experience might be different. Every case is different, but at least be able to see that you can do something after that situation. But definitely requires quite a lot of support. And after leaving, this is where even more support is required, because often then they go back.
Yeah. And my last question, Cynthia, just has to do with, what are we doing with our men? We were having a wonderful conversation during the break. I know it's always been a part of the work to be able to include men in the conversation as well. Tell us what's happening.
Well, the National Women's Commission, in partnership with ESCLAN, has been working since 2019 in developing a male advocate coalition network. And this will bring men from around the country, from different backgrounds, to begin advocating, begin working with other men in looking at what are the changes that need to happen, and for men to hold men accountable. Because often these type of behaviors are also seen outside of the home, in the way that men express themselves about women, in the way that they also act around women. Very disrespectful, and
how they talk about
people on the
women.
street, exactly. And so often other men, while they might not be of the same idea, of the same thought, they allow it to happen. They don't call their attention to that. And so we're hoping that by having men understand the issues of how really gender inequality affects both men and women, they would also take the opportunity to be advocates with other men, because when the issue of gender inequality is also at the root of gender-based violence, and the patriarchal norms of how we view women, and the fact that we view women as the main caregivers in the home. And we still have a lot. I don't care what people say. We still have a lot of experiences. I myself sometimes, even in certain areas, have to really call attention to say that this is not what it's supposed to be. But not every person is able to stand out and say, I'm not going to be doing this because I don't think it is. And be able to be strong enough to face whatever consequences or, arguments or conflict it might bring about. But how do we do it in a way that we keep ourselves safe is always important. And unfortunately, those persons who are in domestic violence situations don't have that opportunity, because they have the aspect of physical violence that they have to face.
Let's close off with that hotline. What's the hotline? Where do we call? Who do we go to if you need to get out of a relationship you know can be potentially dangerous for you?
The mobile number that people can call is 672-9628. That is a smart number that we were able to access through projects for people to text and WhatsApp. Then we have the 0800 A Way Out. That are two hotlines, one for BTL and one for SMART, because we recognize that those who had BTL numbers did not have free access to the phone number. And so we were able to get a SMART number with the same numbers, 0800 A Way Out. And of course, we have the 911 as well. And in addition to that, I really would like to stress the fact that if at any point someone calls these numbers, they don't get access, they don't answer, they don't get the services, we have also developed the gender-based violence complaint mechanism for people to officially put complaints on paper and document it. Okay. Because while we know this happens, it's important to put it in black and white.
Yeah.
And be able for us as a coordinating entity of national gender equality, equity, and women's empowerment issues, have this evidence to take to government and say, this is the number of non-responses from police. These are the number of cases that have not been dealt with adequately. So this complaint mechanism can be accessed online. They can be accessed through our website or Facebook page. And also they can email us or call our number 227-4284, and we can also send them a direct link. There are different spaces in the communities around the country that also have the box where you can place these complaints. And we've also worked with the Belize Postal Service where they can also post these complaints. They don't have to put it in the box if they don't feel comfortable. They can mail it directly to the National Women's Commission. It is self-addressed, and there's no fee. Because we recognize that sometimes it's difficult, even, in a hurry, so people don't have to pay any postage for it, and we get it directly from them. So that also, I think, is very important for people to be aware of. And while we don't like to document, we don't like to put it in black and white, I think it's high time that we start doing it if we want to really see change happen and to hold persons who are supposed to provide services accountable. Absolutely. Everyone needs to play a role and are responsible for changes that need to happen in our country.
Cynthia, well said, well said. Thank you so very much. And we do hope to have you back sometime soon again, so we could continue the educational process of getting people to understand how important it is that if you see something, you should say something. Thank you.
Exactly. Right, thank you for the invitation. Stay safe as well.
All right. So, Mar, we're about to take another break. And when we come back, Belize, we will be chit-chatting with a young man who created his own business. Now, this derived from COVID-19. We know how hard things are. And some people might feel they're not able to do it. He did it, and he'll tell you how when we come back.
If we are only as strong as our families, businesses, institutions, and the communities that surround us, then by giving businesses the power to grow, entrepreneurs the ability to expand, and by giving our families the right to own something, the Belize Bank gives you the power to build a nation, our nation. Stronger together. The Belize Bank. Our country. Your bank.
It's a fact that you can access unlimited services with Smart. Tired of being measured or cut off when you need to be connected? It's a fact that when you sign up for Smart's Plus plan, you get unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data. And it's a fact that you can sign up with your group of up to 5 members for Smart's Share plans and up to 40 members for Smart's Enterprise plans for unlimited talk, text, and data. Smart has the true unlimited plans. That's a fact. Be smart and live smart.
The virus that causes COVID-19 may be spreading in our community. People might have the disease even if they have no symptoms at all, even when they look healthy. Because the virus needs us to spread from one person to another, we can stop it from infecting others if we practice physical distancing. That means stay at least 6 feet away from other persons. Don't shake hands or exchange hugs. Do not gather in groups. Stay home if government officials tell you to do so. Use social media or telephone to communicate. Avoid crowded and enclosed spaces. Work from home if you can. Stay home if you are sick, except to get medical care. Avoid close contact with sick people. Don't visit anyone who's sick in quarantine or in isolation. Give them a call instead. Help keep Belize safe.
And we'll be back in a few, so stay tuned. Thanks, Jen. Hey there, we know you have to head out to work shortly, but don't forget that you can stay tuned by watching us on our Facebook live stream. Find us at Open Your Eyes BC, and you can continue watching there. You can also download Facebook Watch on your streaming device, and you can watch at your own convenience.
And for all the behind the scenes fun, follow us on Instagram at OYE Belize. So,
find us
and follow us
today.
When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Channel 5 introduces the Daily Obituaries. The Daily Obituaries will broadcast all death and funeral announcements and memorials to honor your loved one's life and memories. The Daily Obituaries airs on Channel 5 prior to the evening newscast, with subsequent repeats at 10 p.m. and 12 noon the following day. It will also be placed online on our social media platforms, all for a standard package fee. Celebrate their lives and memories with Channel 5's Daily Obituaries. Honor in life and reverence in death.
Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We're moving now into our third and final segment for the morning. Now, this one is definitely one to reckon with. COVID-19 prompted this young man to start his own business. And a lot of people thought about it and said, you know what, man, I'm not sure what I could do. You can do it. Rysel Bogan Jr. is in with us. He's the owner of Jai E Organic Food and Snacks. Rysel, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Belize. How is everybody?
We're doing great, sir. And what about you?
I'm great. Just here.
All right.
I'm hoping my daughter don't get up.
She can join you. Don't worry. Yes.
So let's hear your story. I read slightly about your bio, and we know that you had a job, and because of the pandemic, you lost your job, and then you got started things your own way. Let's start first by learning that, you know what, you lost your job. Tell us about your story.
All right. Actually, before the pandemic, I was working at DJ as a contracted worker for the purchasing department. My contract was not resigned in February 2020. So the pandemic started right after that, and jobs were very scarce after that. Mm-hmm. Also, I'm a proud student of Wesley Junior College, attending for my associate in business studies.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, go ahead. Go ahead. We're right here. Yeah.
I was sending out emails, scanning Facebook, trying to catch ends, and there was actually nothing.
Wow.
Everything was abandoned.
Yeah.
And so what, you started the business.
Well, before that.
Yeah, sure, Mark.
So you're without a job, you're looking and you're not finding anything. What's it like? What are you feeling? What's going through your mind?
I was feeling very dumb because I was living with my girlfriend and we couldn't make rent and certain stuff, but she was pulling her weight and she helped me through everything. So I was like, I need to do something more. I need to push and drive. So while attending Wesley, actually we were doing a marketing project, and the final project was to make a small business.
Okay.
And it had always been my passion to offer healthy food and snacks to my fellow Belizeans due to the way how I was growing up and my influence.
Okay.
Other than that, the business was from marketing department at Wesley Junior College.
Okay.
All my help, all my time was from them.
But how did you know that this was something that would actually earn you money?
Yeah.
While I was on Facebook, I was going through buy and sell, and there was nobody selling healthy food. I mean, there is people who are selling fruits, and that was about it.
So you decided that you're just going to strike this up. We're going to do this.
Yeah.
Was this a part of your project that you took on in school?
Yes. The business was to sell and make money, at least $600 to go towards a banquet.
Oh. And that's how you got things started?
Yeah.
So why stick to it, though? I mean, was it profitable the first time, or?
Yeah, the reason I stuck to it because it was already easy. I took a lot of time day in, like I went to sleep like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
After changing my daughter's diapers, I washed my hand, I sanitized, and back to the books and like testing my recipe to make something perfect.
So when the project came up for school, this was the go-to, or you thought about there are so many things I can do, or what was that?
I was thinking about two different stuff. I was thinking about providing a service and providing food. The service was like renting bikes or something like that. But then I was like, I felt more comfortable providing food because at Wesley there was only people selling nachos and pizzas, different stuff like that. So I was like, if I provide something a little healthier, it will get you through the classes and you'll feel much better as a person.
And you said you grew up around people who made healthy food. Who was the healthy chef in your house?
The healthy chef was actually my grandmother, Elva Morrison, but the famous Karen Rosito was my mother. So
oh, well, yeah. You were indoctrinated from a young age.
Yeah.
And were you surprised when you decided to come out into the market with healthy food options and healthy snack options as to the response?
I started at Instagram. So the response from school was, I was amazed. Everyone was ordering, my teachers, my friends who play basketball with me, my peers. I was drawn back like, wow, people really like the product.
Yeah. And so how long?
And what was most popular when you first came out?
The most popular one was the Jai fat burner that consists of strawberries and kiwi with my trilogy mix, which is hemp hearts, flax seeds, and chia seeds.
Cool.
With all organic milk. There's nothing that. Personally, I am lactose intolerant, so I use other milk. So I use that as my advantage.
Cool.
So it's almond milk and stuff like that, soy milk.
So it's a shake.
Not really. It is overnight oats.
Yummy.
Yeah.
I love oats, so I can't identify people who will shun oats at any point in the day.
Yeah, that was also a marketing strategy for me because a lot of Belizeans they don't like oats.
They don't like it, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, it's not really oats. It's like little more than just oats.
Yeah.
And I was giving out samples and different stuff like that.
Yeah.
Excellent, man. And I see you've got here Jai organic food. Who's Jai?
Actually, Jai is a Hindi word for oats. Why do
You start off with oats, all right?
Yeah.
This valley, oh my goodness.
Now, you're teaching people as well as helping them to give them healthier options. So you introduce things like overnight oats, which is a wonderful way to kind of get the oats prepared and not have to wake up in the morning and do it. And it has great flavor. But what other items did you start to introduce?
Other items I had started was the wheat cinnamon rolls, French omelette sandwiches, jerk shrimp Alfredo, the stuffed cheesecake waffle cones, waffle fruit balls, and pancake cereals.
Okay, wow.
Pancake what?
Cereals. Mini pancake cereals.
Well, that doesn't sound so healthy.
That sounds like...
it's always... So we gotta help you substitute. I mean, if you're gonna get your flour and make sure it's wheat, I love that.
Yeah.
Now, that's also something that I noted because I saw the cinnamon rolls. I'm like, But you have done traditional sweets, but with healthier substitutions.
Yeah.
Excellent. So
and do people taste the difference?
They actually think it was regular. They think it was their grandmother made it.
And you know nobody cook better than grandma.
Yeah.
So, Rysel, how long have you been in business now?
I started actually March 2020. While I was looking for a job, my school was still asking for that money for the project.
Yeah.
So I started from there and I just continued growing. So I was in business since March 2020.
And this, what we're looking at, that's a cheesecake cone?
Yes, ma'am. That one with the marshmallows is I made with a torch. And marshmallow isn't healthy, but inside was made with cheesecake from almond milk. So it's like a little balance of
almond milk cheesecake. That's interesting.
Yeah.
This guy. Oh my goodness.
So
So you open Fridays and Saturdays. Only Fridays and Saturdays? What are your opening hours?
No. My opening hours are from Monday to Friday, and for the cones are only Friday and Saturdays.
Ah, okay.
From 7 a.m. to 12.
7 a.m. to 12 a.m. midday.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right, so kind of just give us an idea of the menu items, the things that you know people may not know so much about.
My newer menu options are technically the waffle balls and the pancake cereals. They are the newest one for 2021. I had a huge boom when people saw the pancake cereals on Facebook. I was getting shares and comments from my friends like, bro, you really should try to market that or get it into stores.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm still testing the time to see if it would spoil or something like that.
Yeah.
Is it crunchy or is it soft like a pancake?
It is crunchy on the outside but soft inside.
This Bali.
Yeah.
It
was all only me and my girlfriend. We just she tasted it and checked my quality, and I'm just in the kitchen trying to fight off my baby. Give me a little time.
And what about price range? You know what people always think about healthy food? It's going to be expensive.
Yeah, I have one problem with my fellow Belizeans. Everybody feel like it's too expensive, like $7. But in actuality, if you in the morning, if you buy tacos or fried jack, you're spending $5 and a juice is $2. That's already $7.
That's $7.
I mean, I'd provide delivery and it's healthy for you. It helps you get through the day.
Yeah.
So my price range is at $7.
Yeah. Imagine we continue to support each other. And this is actually the healthiest option. This is what you could get.
Yeah.
All right. So your numbers, bro. How can we get in contact with you so we could check out your product, your social media? Yeah. Tell us.
My number is 634 Jai 5233.
Okay.
My Instagram is are you hearing me?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Yeah. My Instagram is Jai Organics Food and Snacks.
Okay.
All right.
And my Facebook is the same.
And you can check out your daily options right there on your Facebook and your Instagram.
Yep.
All right. Well, my brother, I must say that we're so proud of you. We wish you all the very best in your future and try to get this business as grand as possible.
I will. I try every day.
And I know we have some samples here that you sent over.
Yeah.
So
what do we have here? You sent 2 samples. What Marlene is holding is...
the one that Marlene has is the Jai oats, strawberry and blueberry.
Okay. And the one that I have here is...
Look at that, look at that.
Is the waffle fruit bowl.
Waffle fruit bowl.
That is actually a homemade waffle cone, waffle bowl actually.
With fruits and everything in it. My goodness.
And that also comes with a yogurt.
I was going to say there's something else too.
You sauce me up correct. I like that.
So this is what, and for people, especially people who say they don't like oats, this is what your overnight oats look like.
Oats look like that. Look delicious.
I see chia seeds too.
Yeah.
Fun. This is your top seller? This is the top seller that you mentioned?
For 2020, yeah.
Woo!
I love it says for 2020, right? Like 2021 is going to be another one. This is fantastic.
Yeah, every day I'm trying new recipes.
Yeah, this is nice, bro. And we're so thankful. And I tell you what, it smells delicious, though. And remember, natural sweeteners in here, apple, the strawberry, the I think the pineapple. So we've got natural sweeteners.
Tangerine.
Tangerine is in here. I said blueberry. You've got things loaded up in here, sir.
All for only $7.
$7. And you do delivery.
Yeah.
All right. You can't beat this.
This is delicious. I couldn't wait. Man. I usually wait for break time.
I know. I won't wait for break because I want to put this stuff over and whatnot.
It is absolutely delicious. Definitely tasting all the fruit in there. But thank you for telling us all about your story. There are 2 things here. One, the idea of offering healthy options to people.
Yeah.
And healthy food that tastes delicious as well, but also transforming what could have been a really difficult time of unemployment into your own new business.
Yeah.
So we do wish you the best of luck.
Best.
And thank you for telling us all about your story.
Thank you, Rysel.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, guys.
Anytime, sir, anytime. Thank you. Well, I can't wait to get into my Jai-E. I've got something nice here. I'll be making sure I put my syrup and taking care of business. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take our final break, and when we come back, we'll be wrapping things up. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Challenging times. The one thing that is certain is that the Belize Bank Limited is here for you. There is nothing more important than your health and safety. And we continue to make every effort to make banking safer for you. Our staff is working around the clock to make sure you can do your banking conveniently 24/7 using our mobile banking app and online banking and keeping ATMs up and running. We value your relationship with us and are here to provide the support you need. First responders are also out there 24/7. Thank you, healthcare workers, security forces, firefighters, caregivers. You are all appreciated. Stay safe. We will get through this together. The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Play Mega Bingo for a chance of a lifetime.
Over $600,000 could be yours this Wednesday. Yes, you heard right. The Mega Bingo jackpot is now $631,564. That could be all yours this Wednesday, live at 7 p.m. New COVID-19 curfew time on Channel 5, Wave Radio, Radio Bahia, Facebook and YouTube, Belize Mega Bingo. With only $2, all your dreams can come true. Be sure to visit any Mega Bingo agent countrywide and buy your tickets for a chance to win over $600,000. Mega Bingo is the game.
Mega Bingo is the game.
Es un hecho que puedes obtener servicios ilimitados con Smart. ¿Cansado de que se corte la línea cuando más necesitas estar conectado? Es un hecho que cuando te suscribes al plan de Smart Plus, obtienes llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Y también es un hecho que te puedes suscribir con un grupo de 5 miembros al plan Smart Share y hasta 40 miembros al plan Smart Enterprise para llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Smart tiene los verdaderos planes ilimitados. Es un hecho. Sé Smart y vive de forma Smart.
And we'll be back in a few, so stay tuned. Thanks, Jen. Hey there, we know you have to head out to work shortly, but don't forget that you can stay tuned by watching us on our Facebook live stream. Find us at Open Your Eyes BC, and you can continue watching there. You can also download Facebook Watch on your streaming device, and you can watch at your own convenience.
And for all the behind-the-scenes fun, follow us on Instagram at OYE Belize. So,
find us
and follow us
today.
When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Channel 5 introduces the Daily Obituaries. The Daily Obituaries will broadcast all death and funeral announcements and memorials to honor your loved one's life and memories. The Daily Obituaries airs on Channel 5 prior to the evening newscast, with subsequent repeats at 10 p.m. and 12 noon the following day. It will also be placed online on our social media platforms, all for a standard package fee. Celebrate their lives and memories with Channel 5's Daily Obituaries. Honor in life and reverence in death.
And we are back.
And we're back, and we've come to the end of our show for today. You know what? I'd like to thank you so very much for always joining us each and every morning. We got things started this morning with a conversation with the representatives of the Ministry of Health, and we spoke about COVID-19 myths and truths. And I'll tell you what, there's so many things that goes around when it comes to COVID-19. My thing to you is, look, adhere to the rules and listen to the health professionals.
I think there's always an opportunity to learn more.
Yeah.
It is really difficult, I know, to kind of learn about this disease as time goes on, where you could Google right now anything that you want to know more about: asthma, pneumonia, cold, measles, mumps, and you have a lot of data because people have known about the diseases for so long.
Yeah.
When it comes to COVID-19, it's just happening as we're in the midst of this pandemic, and so it's easy to get confused. And it's easy to believe old data versus new data. So I think it's always a great opportunity to be able to find out the latest from our own professionals as to what are the true facts about the situation.
Definitely. And we also want to say a big thank you to Cynthia Williams, who joined us this morning. And we had a conversation on the signs of domestic violence and how to leave an abuser. Look, there are reports of these abuse happening every day. If you see something, say something. And the hotline is out there if you see anything going on. 0800 a way out. 0800 a way out. Call that hotline and you make a report. So thank you, Cynthia, for that.
And the Jai organic
Jai,
yeah, it is delicious. I gotta say that much. I dived right into my overnight oats, and it is. You know, I think we're all looking for different options, I think, to be able to introduce healthier foods into our bodies. We know it's so important during this time, especially. But for me, I think really the power behind that story is how he didn't just sit around and face unemployment. He made decisions and made moves to get his own business started. And sometimes we need to hear that. We need to hear that other people have been able to successfully do it, to kind of give us that push to go on our own as well. So kudos to him on getting things started and also offering something new to the Belizean market.
Definitely. You could check him out on his on various sites, his social media platform, Jaee, Jaee. As long as you type that in, something will pop up and you could see what's on his menu for the day. It's only $7 and he does delivery, and it's a healthy lifestyle, healthy food for a healthy lifestyle. So let's support our Belizean entrepreneurs.
All right.
And we've got to go. If you've got any questions, any concerns, you could drop us a line. We're at oye@channel5belize.com.
You can also drop me a line at marlene_oye@channel5belize.com. Find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ.
You can find us on Instagram at OYEBelize.
And remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
To start your morning right. As per usual, Belize, keep your eyes, your minds,
and your hearts open. We just want to let you know that, of course, we'll be transitioning into the highlights of the day 1 and day 2 of the state funeral, and that we will be going live at 9:20 for day 3. The ceremony takes place this morning, and then the late Dr. Dame Benita Gordon will be laid to rest at the Lord Ridge Cemetery, so you can watch that live on Channel 5. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you soon.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.